I'm Lisa Barnett. Obviously, I'm sure you kind of know that or you wouldn't be here. So I am the founder of Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom. Welcome. I'm excited to see everybody here. What I love to do is open the kind of the energy of the Akash and bring everybody into the energy with me, and we can do some healing. I will channel whatever is coming through. We will talk about using the Akashic Records to transform our lives at this time in history, because as I know you all know, this is a profound time in history. And so all of our intention, all of the healing work we do for ourselves, all of our beginning to create that which we've been desiring, our heart and soul has desired for a long time, this is really the time to get on it. So if you've thought, oh, maybe I'll take a class, or maybe I'll start a business, or maybe I'll write a book one day, this is it, the time is now. So that is what the record keepers were saying. But let's just take a moment and close our eyes and take that nice deep breath as we drop down into our sacred heart center. And we invite our soul to come more fully present down into our physical bodies. As we connect to Gaia beneath our feet and invite her to help us to stay grounded and present as we have this expansive conversation and do some healing today. And we ask the divine lords of unconditional love to help us create this sacred space, to release that which no longer serves on our true path. And we ask our Akashic record keepers to help us to expand our hearts and feel the divine love and support that is truly here for us, each and every one of us, each and every day. And we invite the beautiful energy of the Akash to encircle us all in this room, bringing us into this present moment, aligning us with our Akashic record keepers, the divine masters of light. And we ask them to support us and, again, healing and clearing that which no longer serves us. Beautiful. Allowing ourselves to feel the energy, continue to feel that. I don't know, I feel it because with the group, it just gets very tingly and swirly and lovely. One of the things the record keepers have been having me work on a lot in this last probably 6 months, because the last 2 years, of course, has brought up all the trauma for us, so much trauma that we've had suppressed, childhood trauma that's been suppressed, past life trauma that's been suppressed, just regular daily energies that we have not validated, not worked with, not cleared and healed. And so what the record keepers like to remind us is that energetic trauma, emotional trauma, physical trauma, all ends up creating blocks in our lives. And so when I do Akashic readings and healings for clients, one of the things they're usually asking me is, what's stopping me from, whatever that might be, creating a powerful, loving relationship? What's stopping me from creating a business, or just finding a good job, or finding someone to love, or having more fun, or bringing that joy into my life? And what the record keepers always say is that because human life tends to be traumatic, even if we've had a pretty simple, good life. I have 3 children, and they love to remind me of things like that, what I maybe said to them one day, right? I have identical twin girls. If you come to the booth, you'll meet them because they're down there working for me. One is pink and one is purple, so you'll see my twins. But they love to remind me of those funny things that I said, not thinking, right, as a parent, I'm wanting them to move along, come on, we're late, and how traumatizing that was. And what I realized, because when I was a teenager, my two best friends died, and it was traumatizing, but at that point, 40 plus years ago, we weren't very conscious of it. We weren't very aware of how our emotions really affected us and scarred us and traumatized us, and how that went on to create all of these energetic blocks and often dis-ease in the body, right? Different types of illnesses. And so right now, in this time, in this energetic time in history, one of the things the record keepers have asked me to do is to help heal trauma. And so I just recently in December did a TEDx talk, which we're praying comes out really soon on the TEDx channel, but it's all about healing trauma. And so we can do some of that as a group today, and I love to do it as a group because we have so many collective contracts that hold us back, that block us from moving forward. So people often will say, the Akashic Records is kind of interesting, it's got a lot of past life information, but what can it actually do for me now? And so obviously healing trauma is huge. But the other piece that I find, and this is really the third book, is really talking about your soul's plan. That before we embody, we write a plan, and it's actually pretty specific. We write soul contracts with many people, 25, 50 people, to be in their lives, to support them, to learn from them, to have challenges with them. So those contracts, those soul contracts with partners, whether they're significant partners, our children, our parents, our best friends, our business partners, many of those have what we used to refer to as karma attached. And right now we kind of look at karma. I look at karma. The record keepers like us to talk about karma as old patterns, energetic patterns, programs that are still affecting us, and from one life to another life to another life, because we as souls keep coming back saying, I still haven't learned that compassion piece. Let's give it a try again, right? And so there we are, born into a family that has some big challenges, and we wanted to be the compassion. We wanted to be the love. And now we're in this really traumatic family thinking, are you serious? And I understand that, because when you're in the middle of that, it's painful and it can be scary. You might have a terrifying parent. You might have an abusive parent. Life can be really, really scary, especially when we're little and we can't take care of ourselves, right? And so all of those lessons, all of that concept of I want to learn and grow as a soul, and we have amnesia, right? So here we are, we made these crazy ass plans to have, abusive parents, and we know nothing. And in a little aside, I was born very awake, so I remembered that I could remember being not in a body when I was about 3 years old. And I'm going to say that was traumatic in its own fact, right? So people often say, wouldn't that be nice to wake up when you're young? And I'm like, yeah, not so much, because I used to tell Mom, I want to go back. And she'd say, back where, honey? I want to go home. You are home, honey. My poor mom, she must have thought I was such a case, right? So we come here and we're doing our work. And this is really, our crazy plan. And most of us live 400, 500, 600, 700, 800 lives. And then the record keepers told me I'd been here 1,000 times. And I thought, are you kidding? Am I that stupid that it takes me? Really? Seriously? 1,000 lives to figure this out? Anyway, they said I'm actually a nice person and come back to help. So I try and take that into I'm like, thank you. Okay, at least someone thinks that. So, but that's our really honestly, that's our crazy plan. We write that complex soul plan, and then we try and work through it. And I'm going to say that, all of you energetically here feel like you really are getting there, right? You are waking up more and more every day. I think every year over the next 9 years is going to be profound. I don't believe it's going to be easy, but I think it's going to be profound, right? That's what I get from the record keepers. And of course, because they always say nothing is written in stone, right? We are still that collective. We still have free will. So we write a plan over here, then we come to Earth, we have amnesia, we have no idea we've written a plan, and then we also have free will. So, right, it's just, it's crazy. So, but what I've noticed is that what we've just gone through over the last few years is waking up more and more and more people. And energetically, we truly are raising our vibration. People are becoming more conscious. Some people are not, but a lot of people are. And so, right, it's a tipping point thing. We have to keep working on that tipping point. The more we do, and that's why I love to do group healing, right? The more we do group healing, the more we wake ourselves up, the more meditation we do, the more healing we do, the higher our vibration, our frequency is. And so, you know, we become a stronger tipping point for the lower, you know, to balance that lower energy, right? So again, we'll do some group healing, see what shows up, because it feels like a lot of that trauma, the kind of feeling locked down, lonely, lost, there's a lot of kind of that energy in the field. So we can definitely do some clearing around all of that for everybody. And we'll do some suggestions and such also. So let's see what else they want to say before we jump into doing some healing. Oh, so I just want to talk a little bit about the quantum field. And kind of the cool thing is, and I just honestly realized this probably a few years ago, I came in to be a healer. That was one of my real intentions. And so as I was awake and started studying as a teenager, and then was traumatized by my friend's death and went down a very deep rabbit hole and got lost for about 15 years. And when I came back out again, I realized I could talk to the Akashic Record Keepers, although I didn't know who I was talking to for about 5 years, because it's not really the first question you ask some beings that are speaking to you. It's like, are you the Akashic Record Keepers, right? You're like, I didn't even think to say, who are you and why are you so loud, you know? But, it took me 5 years, I figured it out. But basically what they said to me was, please help us bring this energy, wisdom, light back to humanity, because they had removed it from humanity back in the Dark Ages. So the energy of the Akashic field was pulled away from Earth, so nobody could, except for maybe some of the mystics, could actually access it. So we forgot about it. And that's why it seems like kind of new information. Most of us forgot about it. I had a teacher, an energy healer teacher, who said, you can go up to the gates of the Akashic Records, but you can't go in. And so, and that was even in the 80s and 90s, people were still kind of believing this was, if they knew about it, it was off limits. So the record keepers are like, no, it's not off limits, you know, help us bring it back. And so they said to me, start a school, because you're very galactic. We'll give you many access prayers. So I teach 6 different vibrational keys, access prayers to open your own Akashic records. Right, so there's Syrian, Pleiadian, Arcturian, I always forget, galactic travelers, angelic, there's something else, Orion, and 2 more coming as soon as I stop long enough to channel them, Lyran and Andromedan. I have to, because I've also been those, so they want us to bring that energy. The idea is these access prayers make it easier for people to open their records You're always still opening your own Akashic Records, but it makes it easier if you're using, right, the Lyran prayer, and your Lyran, it just is much more expansive, energetically, simply, quickly. And so, but they also said, you are a healer, and we want you to teach people to heal through the Akashic Records. Because in the olden days, I'm getting so old. In the olden days, back when I was a child, the people who did read the records just read the records, right? And I've had clients come to me and they'd say, somebody read my records and they told me I was burned at the stake, and I am so traumatized. What am I supposed to do with that? And I'm just like, let me heal that for you, right? I mean, that's the answer, which is why I teach my students to access their records and to heal all that old garbage, to free us up, to unwind us from the energy, right? So that is part of what my hands do. And so, because they always used to say the Akashic Records is part of the information arm of Source. It is stored in Source energy. And what I would realize is, as we go deep into our own records, to me, it would often feel like just being in the void, right? You would just be in this space, void, until a client would ask a question, or if I was working on my own work, I would ask a question, and then all that information kind of comes in. And to me, then what I would see is often, oh, that challenge, that block, that fear, whatever it was, is connected to this life and this life and this life. And because they finally said, we're in this quantum field of all, and I could start to see it, interestingly, I see it like a big spinning ball around me. And so I'm floating in the center of the spinning ball, which is like all-time space. And these little lives, whatever those, say those 3 lives, it would look like a little ball, like a little past life ball. That one, that one, that one, I'd like pluck them out of this kind of spinning ball. And we could go in there and actually heal the trauma from that lifetime. So we can actually go in and release that emotional pain, that trauma, that physical pain of being burned at the stake. Let me just say, a lot of pain there. So that is what locks us down, is the pain, the emotional pain, the physical pain. It locks the energy down and it stays there. And we continue to feel fear or trauma or blocked around it, because it becomes like a white hot ball of light, and not a good one, right? So what I realized is we have this aspect, really because we're in the quantum field, in the Akash, that we can pick these lives out, heal them, fill them back up with beautiful golden light, Akashic energy and wisdom, kind of drop them back in. But first, I always like to reclaim the goodies that we can and bring them here now. It's phenomenally useful to be able to start to say, what's triggering me? You know, what's stopping me from being all that I came to be? Because each and every one of you are ancient, wise souls. No one is just a little stupid human. Seriously, the fact that we just have so much doubt and so much worry and, you know, feel so small, it's a shame, such a shame. So I just want to heal everybody. And so I want to move you out of that space of feeling like, but I'm just a small person, right? And so you have lived hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands and thousands of lives in other dimensions also. And so no one just comes to Earth, you know, you're all starseed. No one just is an earthling. I mean, we would be crazy if we did that. Because it's the hardest place in the, you know, in the multiverse to be. And so we have a lot of fun, and we have a lot of experience, and we have a lot of gifts from other planets, planes, and dimensions also. And so many of us, as the light workers, as the healers, as the teachers, as the inventors, that's the part that's so exciting to me now. I'm seeing these 20 and even 30-year-olds who have come to invent, who knows what, to save humanity, right? To heal the planet, to heal our water systems, our food systems, our earth, everything to shift so that we can create new earth, so that we can live an abundant life, so that we really can do what we have been coming to do. Honestly, what I always feel is the energy of the old matrix. So if you imagine that we were high beings and we decided we wanted to learn and grow as souls. And so we literally kind of brought the earth down a bunch of dimensions until we came here. And so what we're doing right now, consciously, but definitely some of us are working on unweaving that old energy, those old matrices, the old programs, all of these things that keep the world stuck in this paradigm. And I really believe as we do it more consciously over these next 10 years, because we've been doing it, groups of people are certainly unwriting, unweaving, so that we can literally, the planet itself will rise back up again. So all of us who are alive living on this earth will also all move into that fifth dimension. So nobody gets left behind. I think a lot of people will leave, honestly. I think that will be the hardest thing for us, is that a lot of people will say, oh gosh, this is too much work, this is too scary, I don't think I want to do this, change my life, create something new. And so people will leave, but they're infinite souls, and so we just always have to know that they get to make the choice that they want to choose, right? And go forward as best they can. So those are kind of the cool things the record keepers keep reminding me as they're like, do more group healing, write more books, talk to more people, and you're like, okay, so what's the story here? And it's like, yes, we're doing it. We really, really, really are doing it. We are awakening, right? We are ascending. It's going to look pretty much like this until it doesn't, right? Energetically, I don't know, anybody feeling their body changing? Are you feeling younger, youthening, different, vibrational shifts, more conscious, more aware, more awake? Yeah. It's exciting. I'm like thrilled, especially since I'm in my 60s. I'm like, God, thank God you didn't wait any longer. I maybe can recover now. But still, right? Let's do some trauma clearing. Yeah? So let's do two things. Any questions about anything I've said? And you can just raise your hands, ask your questions if you have any questions about the Akashic Records, how it can help you, anything about soul plan, any of that kind of stuff. And then also, if you have like something that you want to work on, right? Do you have a childhood trauma around whatever it is that's feels like it's holding you back, making you feeling unlovable, right? Sometimes those will create challenges in relationships or whatever it is. Sometimes they're physical, sometimes they're really emotional. But so many of us, I know, are really here to create very cool new things, right? It might be your business, it might be writing that book, it might be, starting your healing business or whatever that is. I always have clients coming to me saying, can I really be a healer? It's like, well, I think those 10 past lives where you did that would say yes. You have those gifts. And so we can then reclaim some of those. Anything? Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about those of us who have dear ones, close loved ones, who are karmic adversaries?
Yes, I can. So karmic adversaries, and that's really what we talk about when we talk about soul contracts with karma attached. So if you imagine before you embody and you're making your plan and you're standing in a big auditorium with all these souls who are coming back, who want to, kind of come back in the same region and everything as you, or come back into the same family, and when you're like, okay, I need to learn about patience. I need to learn about compassion. I would love to learn about unconditional love. I'm ready to get rid of all of my judgments. And so, who wants to be that person? And one of your soul family members will show up and they'll be like, hey, I'll do that for you. And there we are, right? And of course, amnesia, we don't remember that. They don't remember that, I think, is probably the biggest challenge, is that we may be able to say, I'm sure that we have a soul contract. I know I've come to love you and support you. I'm working on it. I'm doing my work. And I think this is the biggest challenge that I've seen for people, is that we can do everything we can do, but they have to wake up and change themselves. And even if it's a soul contract, you can do your part, but if they're not in, it doesn't get completed for them. But what the record keepers say is, if you're doing your forgiveness work, your compassion work, your own personal healing work, you have completed your contract and will not go forward having to do that again. And they will. They'll have to find someone else to work that out with, right? They'll have to find another soul who says, okay, hey, I'll help you. And then the other side of that is, we come back in another life, and maybe, we're the flip-flop of that, right? Then they're you and you're them, and you've just flip-flopped so that maybe they can get it this time by being up against the energy of the adversary. Then they go, oh my God, I get it, and then they've actually healed that pattern. They've woken up, yeah.
So does that mean that in this life, if, say, for instance, the enemy, the adversary is your child, that your ultimate lesson really is surrender, to just like let it go?
Yeah, honestly, I do a lot of readings for people who are on the verge of divorce or who have their children, and sometimes they're divorcing their children. Sometimes their children are, have turned to drugs or alcohol or, whatever all it might be. There definitely is a point, and as being a mother of three is one of the hardest things for me to say. They write their own plan. They have their own story. And sometimes, we do have to just let it go. And I know often we want to blame ourselves. I mean, really, it doesn't do anybody any good. But we often will think that I did it, or if I was only this, or if I didn't work and they weren't in daycare, or if whatever, right? We have to get over it. We do everything we can do, especially in that moment, whether if you can say, can we go to this counseling? Can we talk more calmly about this? But yeah, I'm sorry. That's so hard. I'm sorry. But it's true. Yeah, sometimes we just have to kind of surrender and just be love, be love, be love. One of the things I often will give clients in these kinds of situations is there's a Akashic forgiveness prayer, which is really the 3 layers of forgiveness. We're forgiving other people for hurting us. We forgive ourselves for hurting other people. And we forgive ourselves for hurting ourselves. Because that's one of our biggest deals. And I have had people come back to me after, sometimes immediately, sometimes after a week, and they were like, oh my God, my mother-in-law called me and was so nice to me. And after having done some, say, forgiveness prayer with the mother-in-law who was not nice to her. I had a gentleman whose brother hadn't spoken to him in 15 years, and they worked together in the same office. They had a business together. 15 years. He was like, you don't know how uncomfortable this is. I'm like, well, we cleared all of these karmic patterns. We upgraded all of the aspects we could. And then the record keeper said, do the forgiveness prayer like until it's done. I'm like, I don't know what until it's done means, but that's what they're telling me. 6 months later, he emailed me and he said, it was a miracle. my brother walked in the office and said, well, sometimes you have to forgive. Right? It was like, okay, good. He was like, he's like, it's okay. I don't even know what it was about, but I'm so happy. I'm so grateful. So it was very, very cute. So forgiveness prayer, that would be you just do it for yourself every single day. Right? And it is just phenomenal and miraculous, to me, because I'm just a mom from the suburbs. When the record keepers asked me to start a school and to do all of this work, my twins were, probably 2, and their older brother was all of a year older. And I was like, what are you, crazy? I've got 3 babies. And I'm like, why me? That's nuts. I literally wrote a book, How Swami Mommy Survived Suburbia. Long time. That was the what do you call it? Moniker? That was the name I kind of used. Never published it, but I always kind of laugh about it because that was exactly where I was. Like, Swami Mommy, I had a little healing center in this little bitty, mall in the suburbs. And so, I just was like, this is crazy. Why would you ask me to do this stuff? And they said, because you were one of us, which was, you were a record keeper in the very beginning. And that was just a profound idea to me, that we can be things like record keepers and seraphim, or these high angels. And it's taken me a lot of years of working in the records to actually realize. So they often give us information in little increments until we can actually, get it. And so, over these last 30 years, I get these little bits. The first big shock was, you were a record keeper, so you can do this and you can help us bring this back to humanity. I said, well, all right, sure. In between changing diapers, I'll give it a try, and, and then later on they were, give you bits of information. So one of the reasons I think it's so important to learn to read your own records is that you get deeper and deeper and deeper, not in a day or a week or a month, but over the years. As we transform, the information continues to deepen. And this is why they've really talked so much about this is your birthright. This is important, really. I mean, when they said to me, we want you to bring this back to humanity, and I said, what are you, nuts? What am I going to do with the babies? But I said, okay, one step at a time. Humanities, when I did a TEDx, I was like, okay, well, I guess that's a little bit more of humanity than you lovely people here. But the thing is that starting to understand who you really are as such a wise, expansive soul, really stepping into that energy and working in the records all the time at using this to transform your life. You can ask about your relationships. You can ask about your blocks. You can ask about your challenges, all of those pieces. Every single day I open the records. And I actually had just a very weird aside kind of experience the other day. I bought one of those headbands that reads your brain waves. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to meditate. It's not my strong suit. I'm a little too hyper. So which is why I don't make you meditate to access the records. So it's yellow, which is neutral. Red is low, blue is calm. So it's neutral, and I try it all, breath, watching my breath. I'd look at it's an app on your phone. Still yellow, hit red. Okay, try something else. I did this for like 10 minutes. I've got short patience. And then I was like, oh, I'll just open my records. And so I just said the access prayer to myself that I used, that I was gifted from the record keepers. And after one sentence, I looked down at my app. I'm trying to sneak it, from myself so I don't notice. And mess it up. I was like, oh, it's blue. Okay, close my eyes again. I just finished just saying the access prayer and hanging out in that really beautiful, yummy energy of just pure, unconditional love. And I just sat there for, 5 minutes because, again, I don't, I'm too hyper to do that too long. But then I looked at the app because I was recording it, and it was just solid blue. The whole time I was sitting in the records, it was solid blue. My husband was sitting next to me. His video, had his computer, and the video went off, and it was some race car thing, and I was like, pop, oh, back to yellow. But for me, it was fascinating because that's the first time I've seen really visual proof of what the energy of the Akashic Records can do instantaneously, right? So we start to open the group records. We open the group records. So who felt that energy shift? Or who feels that energy shift still as we're just sitting here? Any noticing of, a little more calm, a little more space, a little more peace? I always love it. One of the things that my clients always say, I say, how do you feel? And they go, lighter. It's like the one word everybody says. I'm like, okay, I guess that's what it is. Lighter. Lighter's good, right? Lighter's amazing. You clear all that garbage, I feel lighter. So yeah, that's beautiful. So let's clear some garbage and get you guys a little bit lighter. Okay. So let's see, what's coming up? Let me see if I have any triggers. Okay, so they want to do a bunch of relationship because we had a relationship question. Anybody else have relationship challenges with partners, friends, family, anybody? Or looking for? Yep. Okay, and then, so we'll do relationships. We'll do some karmic patterns. What I'd love to also do is go back and reclaim some past life gifts, because that's one of the coolest things we can do in the records, right, is to reclaim some of those gifts. And so, all right. Just again, let's really activate that Akashic column of light, that beautiful silvery blue column that is encircling everyone in the room. So we ask our Akashic record keepers, so each and every one of you have your very own Akashic record keepers, and we call them in. If you'd like, just think, yes, I want you to come in and help me out today. And as we call them in, we ask them to help each of you. Your own record keepers will help you to clear old soul contracts that are kind of stuck energetically outside of time and space, that are no longer valid. And a lot of these are people kind of from our past. They might have been your best friend or spouse or whatever connection. But what happens sometimes, not only do we have cords from the past, which we'll also just release, but soul contracts that get stuck. They're complete, and they're just like trauma, pain, a bad breakup, a traumatic relationship, whatever that might be, can keep us in that state of, stuck, like a frozen contract. And so we want to go back to the beginning of that contract, and we just want to clear, release, delete everything that no longer serves us. We want to send that person, their energy back, clearing and releasing that, and we reclaim all of our energy from that person. So we're creating new, better boundaries with them. Even if you're not sure who it is you're working on, Could be a recent breakup, or it could be a challenge with a child or a parent. Good. Any cords or psychic bonds that we may have, we ask our record keepers to release and delete them. And we burn the old contract because it's complete. And we bring all of that energy back into present time right here and now and fill ourselves up with the highest Akashic energy that we can hold now that we've released and cleared some old relationship contracts. And then what I'm seeing is really helpful right now is to go back outside of time and space, back into past lives. So whatever you might have, what you want to create, or if there's something you're working on or doing, if it's a business, if it's being a healer, being a light worker, seeing more, helping other people, supporting people, writing books, whatever your heart desires, just think of that. And now we're going to ask our record keepers to go back in the quantum field outside of time and space. So you may even kind of picture that swirling ball of energy around you, and you might see flashes of past lives or not. But we ask our record keepers to pick out the top 3 past lives where you had that gift, but something happened and it got stuck, right? So we create soul splinters through trauma. So maybe you were killed for being a healer. Maybe you were run out of town for being a traitor, or you might have been, of course, we all have a lovely torture lives, for the work we did, for the thoughts we shared, for the wisdom we were sharing as we were trying to help humanity move forward. So we want to clear the emotional pain from all of these past lives, the physical pain if we were physically hurt, all that emotional pain. And any vows we have back there, any vows of poverty that we took, vows to stay hidden so that we were safe, vows to stay small so that we were safe, vows to never do that again because it got us killed. We want to just create a lovely bonfire of those old vow scrolls and burn it up. I love to make a bonfire out of things. Because, of course, when you burn things, they get recycled, right? So we're burning our old vows, and that recycles that energy back to you to be used for the highest good of you, and anyone else's energy in there gets returned to them. Whew, okay, good. There's a lot of those. Whew. All right, and then any group contracts that were connected to those, because often we were living in some sort of a group. We might have been part of one of the ancient mystery schools or one of the temples, or maybe we were part of like a pagan group like the Druids. I mean, we throughout time, so many different kinds of groups. And so we want to clear, release, delete those old group contracts that, again, often keep us stuck. We had contracts that would said, I will not heal, I will not do healing alone, I will only heal with this group. And so we feel that we don't have the right or the power or the gifts or the abilities to do this on our own. And it's not true. So we want to burn, release, delete those group vows that hold us back. Any vows, again, even to stay hidden, to stay safe as a group. So we can That's a big bonfire. We all must have been part of all sorts of different kind of groups. And so we are going to burn, clear, release, delete all of those group contracts. Beautiful. And let's reclaim the gifts that we had in those lifetimes and bring them present into this life now. So I like to ask the record keepers to kind of create a symbol, an energetic symbol, and just drop it into our crown chakra and let it integrate down into our body wherever its highest and best place to go is. That feels good. Beautiful. And we ask our record keepers to reclaim any soul splinters. So this is a soul retrieval. We want to bring all those soul splinters that got splintered off from trauma, from death or war, whatever trauma it was for us. We want to take those splinters and bring them back into the unified field of our soul, so that we again can access that wisdom and that energy. Oh, beautiful. And we ask the Akashic Record Keepers, the beautiful divine lords of unconditional love of the Akasha, to fill us each with our own highest Akashic energy, our highest Akashic wisdom, memories, and our highest energetic blueprint that we can now hold after clearing and releasing quite a bit today. We invite these blueprints to integrate down into our body on a cellular level so that they could activate and work in perfect unison with the physical form you're in. Beautiful. And we thank the Akashic Masters for the love, the wisdom, and the healing that we've all received today. And we close and lock the group records for now. And so it is. Blessed be. Good. Thank you. Perfect. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you.